This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
It's a pretty amazing planet we live on here, and a man would have to be some kind of fool to think we're all alone in this universe.
There's a hidden world called Little China.
What's going on here? Is this some kind of
magic? The darkest magic.
It's where Big Trouble was waiting for Jack Burton.
Who? Jack Burton. Me.
Jack?
Jack?
Jack!
You make one move.
Somebody, I don't care who, tell me what is going on.
My destiny rests in your capable hands.
Hey, I'll do my best.
This is gonna take Cracker Jack timing, Wang. 1, 2, 3. We may be trapped.
Total concentration. You ready, Jack?
I was born ready.
Jack Burton's coming to rescue your summer.
Way to go, Jack.
In John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
Rated PG-13. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Carpenter's never been shy about licensing his work for reboots, remakes, whatever you want to call it, reimaginings. Big Trouble has always, it's been threatened so many times. Well, we'll see a sequel. You know, are we going to see kind of like Old Man Jack? Is The Rock?
I was going to say, I thought The Rock was attached at one point.
I feel like it's been threatened so many times and it's never happened. But what would you guys want? Is there anything that you would want to see in a revisiting, a continuation, whatever you want to call it?
They did was it a limited comic series?
They did a comic.
They have, yes.
And Eric Powell from Lagoon, he actually did some writing, I think, on it. They also did this. I think it was Boom. Was it Boom Studios? And I think they also did this. They did this amazing art of. But it's a gorgeous book. So I think for those of you who love this, I would definitely seek it out. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because they have threatened to kind of revisit this universe on film in some form. You would need like a James Gunn. You would need somebody who understands the comedic sensibilities, like first and foremost. Because I think the thing that the comic does pretty well, and the thing that I think we, as people who have then grown to love this thing, you could totally see how this could work in different genres as long as you kept that tone. Comics are a really great place to kind of explore that, because I think that's some of comics superpowers, is some of that, multi-genre, and like you have the flexibility and all of that. I guess what's ironic in some ways, I think people would still not get it. Like you mentioned, Pete, it's like at the time, Guardians was still a departure. Even I was going, why are they doing Guardians of the Galaxy? I don't understand this. Like in some ways, I feel like we are in an alternate timeline because, the Fantastic Four movies didn't come first.
You bring up something just got me thinking now, because Pete, you had mentioned before, Westerns were not necessarily as beloved in this time at that point, right? But and I think we've talked about it before. Nick Dyack, who's been a guest on this a few times, where we've talked about the evolution of genres, right? Like where you have, go back to Assault, where Carpenter obviously loved John Ford, Stagecoach, Howard Hawks, Rio Bravo, all of these movies. And then that genre gets interpreted through the Italian filmmakers in spaghetti westerns. And in a way, the movies that we grew up with, not our parents, but the movies we grew up with, are probably more akin to the spaghetti westerns than they were to the westerns, the TVs, the Gunsmoke, Bonanza. Robert Rodriguez probably more inspired by Good, the Bad, and the Ugly than Bonanza. So I think there's a way where like people like Gunn, Taika Waititi, certainly for sure, the first round of those MCU movies, like you're saying, Josh, Favreau in some ways plays it straight, right? We're going to tell a superhero story. We're going to tell an origin story, and we're going to introduce this character that doesn't have a lot of baggage right now. So I can kind of get away with a few things, but I'm going to keep it still kind of straight-laced and work within the rules in the same ways that like you need that time to develop. You need to establish who Thor is before he can be in Thor Ragnarok, where I can imagine a Taika Waititi in, I think it's New Zealand, watching something like Big Trouble and being like, I get that. I get what John Carpenter is doing.
Yeah.
I could bring that to Thor, but I can't do it yet because like you have those Django movies and I forget some of those movies that kind of riff off spaghetti westerns and kind of joke around with the genre. I think that's something interesting about MCU movies and these directors that grew up with Carpenter to be like, I kind of need Jon Favreau to tell the straight-laced version so that once all the rules are set up, you guys are going to be okay with me not making Thor the hero, just like you're okay with Jack Burton not being the hero, because we get it. Yeah. He can be not the traditional hero. He could be John Wayne without a clue, and it works. But you had like in the same ways, like Gunn is the beneficiary of, well, we set up Avengers, so you kind of know what a traditional superhero team is. So when we introduce a talking raccoon, you're like,
very much so.
Okay, yeah, I kind of get this. All right,
and he gives the best line to the raccoon.
There you go.
Everyone has dead people. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I think that's a really good observation. And look, for the record, it's this emphasis on character that comes from a much older place. And it's like the irony of them modernizing it, but then layering Big Trouble with a 1930s to 40s screwball comedy is, probably confused everybody. But again, I still argue that like that's the best way to, a little bit of sugar help the medicine go down.
Oh, like for sure.
There's some weird medicine in this movie, man. There's
works.
like 7 demon bag.
That's right.
Of medicine in this movie, or 6 demon bag. Damn it!
Time for the medicine. Cheers.
This does what again exactly?
Huge buzz. Oh, good. You can see things no one else can see, do things no one else can do.
Real things?
As real as Lopan.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
Oh, the 6 demon bag.
Terrific. A 6 demon bag. Sensational. What's in it, Egg?
Wind, fire, all that kind of thing.
Here's to the Army and Navy and the battles they have won. Here's to America's colors, the colors that never run.
May the wings of liberty never lose a feather.
So Pete, what do you think? Would you want to see a remake, a revisiting, whatever you want to call it, of this?
I don't know that I'd want to see a remake. I could see taking the story in a further direction, and I think again, like the world presents itself, there's ample space to play around with. What I get concerned with, I think we're talking about like these directors like Taika Waititi and James Gunn. You would need someone that has some cachet to get onto this project. I definitely, because if you get someone that doesn't, then all of a sudden you're going to get a lot of studio interference, and it's like, well, we need to have a callback here, and we need to have this, and we need to have this, and then you run into the case where you've got a lot of these other properties that have been on long hiatuses and have come back and have not really done anything to like move, like Bill and Ted, Dumb and Dumber, all these other, things that have been laying dormant for so many years. And people are like, oh, it would be great if we can get another sequel. And like so much time has passed that you're getting like these kind of little pale retreads of what one time was maybe funny and innovative. So I think you need someone that has that strong hand that can guide, this into a direction that maybe a studio wouldn't necessarily want it to, but be like, well, this is my vision and this is in keeping with the world. This is in keeping with what's come before, but we don't have to have every little throwback so that there's all these Easter eggs. As much as I did like, the Han Solo, the Solo movie, there was just so much stuff thrown in there. And it's like, well, here's how he got his blaster, and here's how he did the Kessel Run. And it's like, we don't need all these answers.
You didn't have to check all the boxes.
Yes, exactly. And I feel
and as fun as that movie is, you didn't need that for it to be fun.
Right. Yep. And so that would be my worry going forward, is that, they're going to do something that will be checking a lot of boxes, and that will then take away from what I feel is a lot of fertile ground to take this in any number of different directions.
I do have an idea, Bernie. What do you got?
Man, like you'd have to have so many things in the universe aligned for this to work, because it's such a specific way. And I think that like my buddy Dre and I, when we see movies get announced, we always ask the same question now. It's like, who is this for? Because, we hear about like those 4-quadrant movies where they're trying to check all the boxes to make sure that everyone would want to go to the theater and see this. Big Trouble in Little China, when it first came out, was probably checking half a quadrant, you know, and I think we were all in that quadrant for sure. But in the present, but in the present day, you would have a lot of film lovers who would not have the nostalgia for Big Trouble in Little China that we do. So in ways, it would have to be its own thing. I think, you know, like my definitive answer would be if you approached it in the way that they did the Ash TV series, where there was an acknowledgement.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, there you go. There you go, Josh. Kindred spirits. I'm telling you. I don't know where the mailman was, but he was in the same neighborhood that day. There's just a part where
both of those guys, Pete. I don't know.
It may have been Jack Burton, but that's another story.
The check is in the mail milk bottle.
There's something about that series and how it had not the fan service that you were mentioning, Pete, with Solo, where there was a way where we have to explain everything, right? It's like, no, the fact that you don't is what's actually made this so beloved, but you would have to make it its own thing. Where
the tone is dead on, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's where the Ash series succeeds, where it takes Bruce Campbell, it assumes that he lived in this world and had all of those experiences and is very much as burdened and jaded by all of these things, but also introducing other people to him to kind of be like, well, we're going to now move this forward because we have to, because who is this for? Like, well, we'll watch it, but we also need other people to watch it and love it. That's what you'd have to do with Big Trouble. I don't know if someone like The Rock would do it, because I feel like in my mind's eye, I kind of know what that movie looks like.
He would want the big version. He would want the big, crazy, super indulgent. And again, not bad, but the big budget where they're going to pay for it. And it's like, yeah, you would need somebody at the top of it who gets that stuff. And I think to your pitch, Bernie, it's like that. My instinct is, if you did, you know, Jack Burton versus the evil mystic kung fu ghost bastards, you could do that, and it would be hilarious, because I think very much the Ash that will come, I think Evil Dead 2 is 87, the Ash that will come the next year, like that, they are cut from the same cloth. You know, Ash and it's something that I didn't think about until, you know, years after the fact, but it's like those are two of my favorite, you know, anti-hero characters, because they're so accessible and funny and stupid and unlikely, and, you know, and it's like, if you're looking at that Joseph Campbell model, it's like the least likely is actually supposed to be the hero. So as much as I think everyone is quick to assign anti-hero to some of these cats, it's like when you're looking at the actual mythical precedent, it's like the whole point is that they're not capable, and they do it anyway. And so I think from a formal aspect, it's like they check all those boxes. They're just fun as hell. Like they don't, like, you know, poor Luke, man, like he ends up eventually having to become real serious in the way he carries his story. When we first met him, he was a whiny little bitch, and that made him accessible and fun. And so that's who these guys are. You know, Ash and Jack Burton, whiny and ridiculous and pompous and, you know, full of empty bravado, like you said, Pete. And like, yeah, that would be fun, man. I'd part of me would want to see like Jack in his 70s, man. That could be some funny shit. Yep. That could be very funny, man.
Some of the other spirits or mystic, coming after him because of what he did, because they heard a mistelling of the story of, like, again, from the beginning of the movie. Like,
that's so funny.
Jack Burton, this is Jack Burton's story, and he did this, so now they're coming after him, and he's like, whoa. He's like, I was unconscious for the half the battle. What are you coming after?
What do you mean? And Dennis Dunn is still around. If Dennis comes back and Wang Chi comes back and is like, hey, I need your help, I mean, I think that would be fun as hell.
You get Carpenter to score it, and I think we got Big Trouble in Little China Part 2. This time it's personal.
Yay, the series. This fall on some streamer.
That's right. Yes.
Feel pretty good. And I'm not scared at all. I just feel kind of invincible.
Me too. I got a very positive attitude about this.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me?